Yo guys, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Today I'm going to tell you how to get jacked and stacked physically by also getting jacked and stacked mentally and spiritually at the same time. How to apply holistic bodybuilding, the method that I practice and teach others that is about a lot more than just the physical side of things. It's building a person, an individual, an ideal version of you, really. But there is a big component to it that is bodybuilding, and today I want to talk about the holistic bodybuilding, how to apply body, mind and soul on the actual bodybuilding side of things, okay? So I think today, if someone wants to learn and get into fitness and bodybuilding, and well, I think the information, the messages that are available, if you go looking on it on YouTube and stuff, it's like half of what I think is necessary is what you get in most places. So obviously the physical side of things, you know, all the training stuff, you get you can get a program, exercises, or how the form you should use, well, isolation exercises, compound exercises, sets and reps, volume, intensity, frequency, right? And then when it comes to the mind, this is part of the mind, just information, taking in and storing information, ideas, so that when you go to the gym to do the physical stuff, you have some ideas, you have some kind of idea of what I should be trying to do here. But then there are components of the mind that aren't addressed at all, like self-talk. How do you talk to yourself throughout the process? When do you push? When do you tell yourself, stop being a little bitch, push through, Theo, stop whining, push through? And when do you say, hey, Theo, it's okay that you have a worse day, you can be a little bit more chill today, right? It's not just about that, how you talk to yourself in that sort of way, it's also how you choose to frame things, you know. Sometimes we can tell a truth in different ways, and one way might serve us more than the other. You know, an example of this is that if there's a glass on the table between you and me, it doesn't matter if you say that, oh, there is no glass, okay, now you're in denial of reality, but you might say the glass is half empty, and I might say it's half full. Both are true, but depending on the circumstance, it might serve us better to look at it in a certain way. Like, for instance, instead of, I'm so weak at this, oh, I'm in such poor shape now, it's like, I am taking good care of myself, I'm finally trying to improve, I want to get stronger and healthier. So you can make this a whole lot more pleasant and positive for you, and that will matter. That matters for your adherence to this. And then the spiritual component, that's like completely not there. I think a lot of people don't even know what that means. Lots of people will start thinking about religion and God, and obviously there can be a big connection there, but for you individually, it doesn't have to be. The spiritual component is really the experience component, you know. The easiest way to say this is like feelings. Feelings, both physical and, emotional. Like, oh, it hurts in my body, or this feels pleasant in my body, or oh, I feel happy and excited, or I feel sad, depressed. These are things you experience, right? The observer that experiences this, right? That's what we're looking for here. But it's not just about feelings, those kinds of feelings, it's also just sensation, you know. By finding that observer, you can direct your attention to certain components of your experience, and both get different outcomes. Like, you can do something physical better by becoming better at targeting your awareness on the inside, or like what you're doing. But also, the more you do this, you will notice that not just like you would get more precise in your movement on an exercise you keep doing over and over, your ability to observe and see little details in your experience is going to improve in that way. Hence why I say at the end of the videos, jacked and stacked, mentally, physically, spiritually. You are jacked and stacked like this, really. So the thing is, what I noticed when I started bodybuilding a little over 7 years ago now, at 25, I'm 32 today. Not literally that I turned 32 today. I was it yesterday, I will be tomorrow, and for a few more months. It's a common misunderstanding when I say that. But yeah, what I noticed quite quickly was that, getting into learning all the info, first of all, it's overwhelming. There's just so much, and you're looking for, what is the right way? What is the true? What is the best way? What I realized was that I'm never gonna read or listen or watch my way to finding that. I'm just gonna have to accept that I don't know exactly what I'm doing and go do it. And then I realized that, hey, the technicalities of the training, they really mattered a lot less than I thought, as in, obviously they matter. You cannot just do whatever physical and you will bodybuild. There are certain things you need to do. But I realized that, hey, first of all, I don't have to be perfect in it. I can get something a bit wrong, use slightly worse form than would be ideal, or have a slightly worse program than would be ideal for my goals, and so on. But I could still get results, as long as the important stuff was in place. I also realized that, hey, there are many different paths to the same goal. Not whatever, like I said, but for instance, an example that as long as you apply progressive overload and train close to failure, you could do 5 reps on an exercise or 15, use a weight where this is close to failure, and you would still be growing the muscles, right? To a degree. To a degree, there's a lot of different things you can do that lead to the same sort of outcome. So obviously, as the more advanced you get with with anything, I think, but with a thing like bodybuilding, the more the actual technical components, the little details are going to matter. But I would say to get to an intermediate plus physique, there's so much you could do like wrong or less than ideal, as long as you get the major stuff in order. And so figuring out the mental and the spiritual side of things, that's going to make you apply anything, whether it's an ideal training approach for you or not. Figuring out the mental and spiritual component of things are going to yield better results no matter what. A lot of people, they know a lot. They have watched a lot of information, YouTube and stuff. They have a great idea of different functions of muscles and programs and intensity, frequency, volume, what they should be doing, still find themselves with lackluster results. And now we have to figure out why, how can that be, How can that be? Clearly, it's not all that there is to it, right? To just know the stuff. There's something else you need to know. Guess what? It's you. It's yourself you need to know. Doesn't matter how well you know all the training stuff. Like if you actually also know it, I don't mean that you just heard it. You've actually tried it, so you understand it. Doesn't matter how well you understand how to train if you don't completely understand yourself. A lot of people, they find themselves wondering, I do know everything. I know kind of exactly what I should be able to do. How come I yet again binged on crap and ruined my weight loss progress? How come I again skipped the freaking gym and made it a trend, and now I don't go, and I do this on and off all the time? How come I always do this? Why cannot change it? Because you do not understand you. Okay, so I said some things about the mental and spiritual there, but of course it's much deeper. But the thing you gotta do is when you figure out, this is a decent starting point, okay? This is sort of program I should follow. Not even starting point, like for where you are at right now, if you're looking to improve, you have to be honest with yourself. Lots of people, they lie about how well they're doing, how consistent they are, because, well, that time when I missed it, it didn't count because of this, or, I deserve to eat that because, or it was a birthday. It's like, be honest about it. It's not, it's not that you cannot skip a workout. It's not that you can't have a piece of cake on a birthday, but be honest with yourself, because when you're lying about this, you're gonna manage to lie successfully sometimes, and you don't even realize how much more that go against the progress you want that you actually do, right? So it's this, you have to be honest, then you have to observe yourself, okay? If it is the case that you know what you should be doing, but you find yourself going off script in many different ways, you're gonna have to start to ask yourself why. Because the thing is, you are the constant in all of this, so you are the one you're gonna have to figure out. You're gonna see that it's similar situations, similar things, when you eat something that you shouldn't, or when you skip a workout, right? There are some similarities with all these instances. What is that? Sometimes, to take an example, because there can be many different things, but when you eat something that you shouldn't, that could be your vice to mitigate stress and overwhelm, for instance. And so now the question becomes, what makes you stressed and overwhelmed? Can you, first of all, can you find better ways to deal with it? Can you find other outlets to deal with that? And can you remove yourself from these situations so that you don't get stressed and overwhelmed as much? So it's both about minimizing the sort of, how should I say, risk, like the stimulus, the bad stimulus, minimize that and look for better solutions when it's the case, right? It's a non-black and white mindset. Just be looking ahead, like I'm going to be in the same kind of situation again. What can I do before then so that maybe this situation arises less often? And what can I do in the situation that's better, at least better, right? It's continuously going through these cycles and updating your way of dealing with it so that it doesn't happen as often and you deal with it in a better way like that. And then the spiritual component is that you have to really, when you actually do stuff, You have to really observe yourself and what's going on with you here. If you want to improve your technique with training and stuff, you have to really put effort into observing yourself. What am I doing here? What is going on in my body? How does that feel? And then if you're not getting a certain outcome that you'd like of something, you have to really look for why. Why? Observe yourself. See, what can I do differently? When I put my awareness in this place of my body, or focusing on this part of the movement, now it feels differently, it clicks, something more happened, you know. It's this continuous process of observing yourself, having this sort of dialogue with yourself almost. This is what your body tells you, you take it in, you tell your body something else, and gradually things change like that. But yeah, I could do a way longer video on all of this, but I just wanted to do a little one just to kind of clarify this. It's pretty much that if you're not getting the results you'd want, and you either don't know why, or you know exactly why, but you don't know why you cannot change it. Now it cannot, the answers are not going to lie in another training program, another diet plan or something. Sometimes tweaking that, when you figure something about yourself out, you could see that, hey, this sort of diet approach is going to actually suit me better. A lower eating frequency, for instance. Maybe, I'm not so hungry in the mornings. Maybe delaying my eating to later in the day will work better, for instance. Or, you know, I like this sort of split more. It's just, I just find it more enjoyable. So there's less resistance, even on a bad day, to do that. Yeah, the technical stuff matters, but you see, it's in relation to you. And then the more you figure yourself out, you're going to be able to do whatever the hell you want, you know. But it's about figuring yourself out. So if you don't know why you're not getting the results that you'd like, you have to watch yourself honestly and really look for flaws. Never from a sense of, or like from a perspective of shitting completely on yourself, just being honest, like what could I do better? What might be leaks here? And then you see what leaks can I actually change something about. And doing this gradually, if you keep going to the gym and apply the major concepts, progressive overload and this, enough of these, finding the leaks and, how do you say, tightening up, closing them, you're going to start moving forward again. And the other one, if you know, you see the leaks, like it's obvious what stuff I do that gets in the way, well, now you have to find out what leads to that. What leads to that? What does that come from? And then look ahead, have a plan for how to avoid even ending up in that situation, and better ways of dealing with it. It's this sort of, one thing I thought I was going to talk more about in this video that I guess I'll save to elaborate on to a future video. I talk about lots with clients recently. Well, I talk a lot about masculine and feminine polarity, and it's not just about men and women. It's about concepts. All the concepts here in this world can be, one side is masculine and one is feminine, and it's always about the balance. And when it comes to stuff like a training program, a diet plan, structure, sleep schedule, for instance, there should be a sort of rigid plan, as that's masculine, set in stone. This is exactly, these are the workouts, these are the exercises, these are the sets and rep ranges, you know, this is what I'm supposed to adhere to, this is ideal. But then there has to be a certain flexibility, you know, because what happens when you're too rigid, it's having too high standards, that either it seems so impossible that you never take it on, because you cannot, if I cannot be perfect, I don't do it, or you do this rigid thing for until you fail somehow, and then you go off it. While if you're too flexible, you're going to start and stop all the time, or not even start, or make excuses. You're just treading water. It's just never enough. Even if you keep going to the gym aside, what you do is just not, because you make excuses. You're too nice. It's okay. You don't have to, you know. And you always have to find what's the rigid system that I need to aim for, and what's the sort of flexibility around that when needed that I can do, that I'm allowed to do, that still makes like the plan, the major rigid enough, exact enough for my progress to keep moving forward. And then part of the process, you know, part of the process can be like, let's say there's no weight loss happening, there's no muscle being built because you have not figured it out yet. You're still improving, you're working on you, the mental and spiritual side of things first, until finally you get it right enough so that the physical catches up. But you see, it's always a work on you. You are the constant in all of this. You have to figure out yourself. So I hope this video was okay. Actually, my videos are so long recently because I have to take when inspiration hit, I just have to get it out so I can get back to it later on, do more precise, shorter videos. I was in kind of a time pinch here. I knew what I wanted to talk about, bringing the body, mind and soul stuff into the training, just a bit more practical in a sense, you know. I'll be curious to hear what thoughts came up to you. Please like and comment. It also helps, support the algorithm. More people see this, so it's very much appreciated. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, getting jacked and stacked mentally, physically, spiritually, working on ourselves, body, mind, and soul. It's always so much easier than just talking about it generally to speak and work directly with an individual and really figure them out. I have so much volume now of people and experience from both myself and people. But yeah, when I get to ask questions and talk to someone, I can figure stuff out quite fast. If you'd be interested, you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below. I'll get back to you with my different programs and offers. You can pick up my training book, everything training, philosophy, mindset related that you need in order to become a self-reliant, jacked and stacked individual. There isn't so much talk about the body or the mind and spirit in that book, but as much as it's needed to get that, it's very physical, the book, but it's still uncommon sense, right? But please subscribe for more comments about fitness, fast losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. A physical set, a soul set, and a mindset, they all go together. The physical is really the lowest. It's the spirit that observes the mind that instructs and speaks, communicates with the body. Never forget. Peace.